Jordan Belfort, The Way of the Wolf, author, joins us now. All right, Jordan. So you're out there, you're warning folks about Bitcoin essentially, and you know there are a lot of Bitcoin fans out there. I mean, there's almost a cult-like following, and to a degree you can understand why. People have lost confidence in governments around the world. People have lost faith in fiat currencies. Remember our crisis, we printed $5 trillion worth out of thin air. And people like the idea of having a currency that they control and that no one else can control. So you understand where that's coming from. And by the way, what if it does go to 50,000 or 100,000 or a million? What do you tell people who may not have gotten into it because of your warnings?
First of all, I don't think that you're correct in what you say. I disagree with that. I don't think that people are getting into it because they have a dislike for fiat currencies or they're scared of the governments. It's just typically not wanting to miss out right now on something that's going up. It's a bubble. It has nothing to do with the technical factors. The early people that were idealistic and were thinking about, you know, an alternative to money, they were on that train of thought, but not the people now who are driving it up. So that's not what's going on right now.
Well, we can disagree on that because I can tell you, my son just opened an account a couple of months ago, all of his friends there, but they've done their research and they like the idea that there will only be 21 million mined, and they like the libertarian argument about it.
I understand it's not correct, though. See, this idea of scarcity with Bitcoin is completely false, because what happens when you're having something like cryptocurrencies, they all trade in one giant basket. So while there might be only 21 million Bitcoin, every time they create a new cryptocurrency, there's more cryptocurrency on the market. There's no limit to the amount of cryptocurrency. It's getting bigger every single day. There is no scarcity. There's no value. It's a bubble. And I promise you, and you're right, it could go to 50,000. It could go to 100,000. But I'm certain that at the end of the day, it will end up close to zero. That's the bottom line.
All right, Jordan, I got one for you also, another one. Gary Kaltbaum from Kaltbaum Capital Management, he's their president there. He actually compared Bitcoin to a highlighter. Roll tape.
The best way I can explain it, I have in my hands here the Bit Highlighter. It is worth more than a Bitcoin, and of course, if somebody paid $15,000 for it, Wall Street would start trading it. The futures exchanges would have you trading it also, and you'll have companies coming out. Instead of changing their name to Riot Blockchain, it would be Riot Highlighter. That's the nature of this beast.
So essentially, Jordan, what he's describing,
that's it.
Right? He's describing what they call the greater fool theory. But you could also argue, though, that the painting that was sold a month ago for $450 million, intrinsically it's worth $150. The canvas and the paint. Or gold.
There's only one of that painting, though.
Well, what about gold, which has been an amazing store of value for centuries? Things like that. I mean, that are still mined actively. So, again, I get. Listen, I'm not in it. I've never bought it. And my son asked me to 4 years ago. But I will say, though, to dismiss it out of hand because it's not a currency that's printed up by government and it doesn't have the full faith and credit of some government behind it. That could be folly also, no?
Let me put it this way. So what you're, I think, confusing here is Bitcoin versus blockchain technology. Number one, I don't think Bitcoin itself is a scam. That's not the problem. The problem is that by its very nature, it attracts people in there that are manipulating it. It's set up to be manipulated. It's a massive viral campaign going around the world right now with people who know nothing, like your son, probably a smart kid. He has not been through all the bubbles. He doesn't know what's going on. This is what, listen, I broke some laws, and I'm going to tell you this. This is exactly what is going on right now in Bitcoin, in these cryptocurrencies. People are essentially taking these basically worthless instruments and pumping them up with a story that it's the next great thing. This is never going to be a mainstream currency. It's not going to be. There's too many problems with Bitcoin. Well, also, one day there will be, by the way, there will be a blockchain currency. It'll be, I'm sure, sponsored by the governments and be approved. The government. You think the U.S. government is going to allow there to be some just freedom of currency out there that could, you know, massive money laundering,
I don't
lose
disagree.
all the control?
Jordan, I don't disagree with you on that, and I know there's a lot of bubbles and scams out there. Ultimately, there might be one. I do real quick. Tell me to wrap real quick though. That dance scene with Leonardo DiCaprio. Could you really dance like that back in the day?
No. I wish I could, but Leo, listen, Leo's awesome. He did a great job, and that whole thing he did, I don't know how he did it, but it was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. Jordan Belfort, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, Bitcoin blazed a path in 2017. It kicked off the year. Look at this chart at about $1,000. It soared to a lifetime high of about $20,000 by the middle of this month. But after that surge, well, look at the rest of that chart on the right. We saw the value plunge to as low as $11,000 at one point. So we ask, what's ahead for the very volatile cryptocurrency in 2018? Will it survive? Will it lose its spot as the world's most popular virtual currency? Let's bring in Moonlighting CEO Jeff Tenery. Your company is an on-demand hiring platform, great for freelancers, so we can explain to our viewers what you're actually engaged in. But it's good to see you, Jeff. You know,
good to have you.
There's so many question marks about the future of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in particular. Where do you see it going?
Well, I tell you, I think Bitcoin has a little bit of an identity crisis right now. It's there's such mania and a fever about getting in on it, and people feel left out. And I think Bitcoin hasn't quite found its place. Is it an asset? Is it a utility? And I think this year was a year around trying to figure out what is Bitcoin.
Identity crisis, right? I love the Morgan Stanley note from earlier in the week, basically saying, well, if it's an asset, it's worth nothing. Potentially, it could drop to zero, completely worthless. On the other hand, you have something like gold that's always going to be worth something. What do you make of that report from Morgan Stanley?
Well, I think what's tough about it, when you think about gold, it's tough to go use gold at the grocery store to pay your rent, right? So there has to be some currency. Nice. And because the world's becoming more digital by the day and more mobile, people need to be able to exchange currency much more rapidly and more fast. And as the world gets smaller and people conduct business all around the world, you need some sort of currency that is faster. And I think that's what Bitcoin and really Ether and other types of cryptocurrency present for users.
Yeah, I remember when people said, I'm never going to pay with my phone, leave my wallet at home. Are you crazy? And look, so many people are doing the mobile payment thing now. And we have, in terms of cryptocurrency, Overstock, Virgin Galactic. These are retailers that are accepting Bitcoin. Do you think Walmart or Amazon or a major player in retail will?
I think absolutely, because it is the fastest way to make a payment, and mobile is becoming such a big part of the commerce world. People are conducting more and more business through that. So, yeah, absolutely. I think people are becoming more comfortable with it, and as I think Bitcoin is more accepted, I think some of the craze around it you'll see it really in practical use as opposed to just being traded really on a lot of speculation.
But the worry is criminality, and we were speaking to the CEO of Carbon Black yesterday. This is what he had to say about that.
The attackers out there using Bitcoin as the primary currency to remain anonymous and be able to drive billions of dollars in illegal criminal activity. Bitcoin is behind that.
So when, if ever, Jeff, can Bitcoin gain legitimacy? I thought, and for a time, that the futures trading on the CBOE and the CME would do it, but where do you stand on this?
Yeah, well, I tell you, Bitcoin, a lot of people are looking at Bitcoin because that's the grand poobah of cryptocurrency right now. There's a second currency called Ether that you're seeing a lot of these initial coin offerings, and something we're planning on doing next year. The initial coin offering gives really more legitimacy because people will be using their coin or their token to be able to actually do something, utilize it for something other than trading. So I think that's where the mystery around Bitcoin is how will people use it? I think as more and more retailers and top companies, Microsoft, other companies are using it as a payments mechanism, I think that some of that fear will be removed from the market.
Yeah. Your company is launching your own token. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we're calling it the Moonbit, and we're working on this now. And one of the things that I described to people, 2017 was a year where it was like quantity over quality, where there was a ton of initial coin offerings, a lot of scams, a lot of bad apples out there that were really just doing it based on a PowerPoint and just putting it in front of, grandmothers taking money out of their IRAs, which is something that, no one wants to see that. I think 2018, because of the legitimacy around Ether and really the companies that are using it, you'll see more quality over quantity and people that are doing it the right way. And that's what we're doing. We're working with some of the top law firms and advisors to do it the right way, similar to Overstock.com.
I got to play devil's advocate here, though, because 2017 was also the year of the ransomware attack, the hack attack. And a lot of these criminals, these hackers, want to get paid in Bitcoin because it's harder to trace and it's so anonymous, and now we're starting to see a crackdown. But we're also starting to see investors say, we want in.
Yeah. Well, I think separating really utility from investment. I think that's the part that I think Bitcoin is suffering. Going back to that identity crisis I mentioned before, is there's that, what is Bitcoin? What is it going to be? And I think people are really perplexed by it. In Ether and with companies like Moonlighting that are legitimate, we have 600,000 users on our platform right now that are using our freelance services. Having a real utility and being able to use it for payments and using it for other services, that's where the credibility will come to the market. I think that's why 2018 promises to be very good for companies that are using it the right way, as opposed to it being really a speculative asset that people are trading on.
And the search for volatility in the process. Jeff, thank you very much, and good luck to you.
So you're out there, you're warning folks about Bitcoin essentially, and there are a lot of Bitcoin fans out there. I mean, there's almost a cult-like following, and to a degree you can understand why. People have lost confidence in governments around the world. Go to 50,000 or 100,000 or a million. What do you tell people who may not have gotten into it because of your warnings?
First of all, I don't think that you're correct in what you say. I disagree with that. I don't think that people are getting into it because they have a dislike for fiat currencies or
people have lost faith in fiat currencies. Remember our crisis, we printed $5 trillion worth out of thin air. And people like the idea of having a currency that they control and that no one else can control. So you understand where that's coming from. And by the way, what if it does go?
Scared of the governments. It's typically not wanting to miss out right now on something that's going up. It's a bubble. It has nothing to do with the technical factors. The early people that were idealistic and were thinking about, an alternative to money, they were on that train of thought, but not the people now who are driving it up.
Jordan Belfort, The Way of the Wolf, author, joins us now. All right, Jordan.